Subscribe for more.
Claimed by the cave. I often spend my weekends and really any other time I have off scouring the internet and Google Maps for caves that I can search. I'm a bit of a thrill junkie, and spelunking, aka caving, is one of the safer adrenaline-packed hobbies I can take up. I don't have a lot of trust in bungee cords, parachutes, or scuba tanks, and if something goes wrong there, you're probably going to die. That's where I picked up caving. Sure, I could get stuck in a tight passage or a cave could collapse, but the chances are pretty slim and I have solid rock under my feet to hold me up. I don't mind confined spaces, and the thrill of total darkness when you turn your flashlight off and can't see your hand in front of your face is both fascinating and exhilarating. The spelunking community is large enough to get information, tips, and locations, but not so large you're constantly running into people. Most of the time when I go, I'm the only person down there, but that's because I tend to look for caves that are smaller and less known. It adds to the thrill. I recently found a cave a few hours from my home on a tip on Reddit. Using general guidelines for the access, was able to pin down where I thought it might be. So I decided I would cut out of work a bit early since I work from home and get there before sundown. The cave wasn't far off of a hiking trail and not too far down the trail from the parking lot, so I could get to it in daylight and then find my way back in the dark as I would know the trail. It was Friday, so I set off and hit the road, stopping at the gas station for a couple of energy drinks to get me there and back. The weather was nice, not a cloud in sight, so I figured this would make for perfect conditions. Nothing like getting soaked before you get into the cave or even after you get out on a rainy day. The hours passed quickly, and before I knew it, I was parking in the small lot outside of the trail. 2 other cars were in the lot, hikers, I imagine. I gathered up my flashlight, a bottle of water, my phone, and a small bag to carry miscellaneous items like my bear spray, knife, and a set of bandages in case I get banged up by the cave. You have to carry a small bag, as some passages are so small you have to hold the bag in front of you as you go through them. I set off down the trail and followed my mental notes. I knew I needed to go about a quarter of a mile down the trail or so and set my watch to track my distance. When I hit the quarter-mile mark, I ventured off trail down the left side, keeping my eyes peeled for any obvious signs. Not more than 100 yards, I saw what looked like a cave entrance. It was shallow to the ground, almost flush, but I could make out the rocky outcropping, and the exterior matched the Reddit poster's description. There was a red bandana hanging from a tree next to the cave as a marker, I assume. He mentioned that the cave was smaller in size, but had a few passages that branched out further once you made your way down the first channel. He said he explored a couple of passages and would go back to venture further as time went on. I guess this was a local spot for him. He did note that the rightmost passage was a pain to get down and ended a few hundred feet back with no caverns or exciting sights. I walked up to the outcrop and, sure enough, there was a hole leading into the ground. Probably like a 30-degree angle or so, but manageable to get down. I felt the cold draft and made a note of my surroundings and how to get back to the car. Double-checked that I had everything I needed and set off down the cave. It was fairly narrow, and with the grade, I backed down feet first to protect myself in the event of a fall. I descended down about 25 feet. The ground began to level out. I could see the entrance growing smaller. Dusk was setting in, so the outside had a nice orangish hue to it. I could feel the warmth of the summer air drowning in the cool updraft of the cave below. It would be black when I returned, I knew. I was able to turn around at this point and get a feel for what the cave offered. Still in a crouched position, I surveyed the cave. Almost immediately, I could see the cave began to branch off. To my right, a small tunnel I would need to crawl hands and knees on to get down. I assume this is the Reddit poster's path, so no go on this one. In front of me was another channel. It was a little bit taller, but I still couldn't stand fully as the ceiling was maybe 4 feet in height. The width was much greater, about 6 feet, so I had plenty of room to turn around if needed. I walked the path, still descending slightly, and 30 or 40 feet down, the path split again. Another right path, and this time a central path that bent to the left not too far down. I figured with it being my first time here, I would stick with all left at the junctions and simplify my return to the surface. This decision did simplify my trip, but also dramatically complicated things. I took the path, and the dampness and coolness in the air intensified. It was really starting to feel like a cave now. The draft stopped after the bend and made me wonder where the draft was coming from originally. As I continued down the path, the walls narrowed, and I was forced to hands and knees, and before I knew it, I was inchworming my way through an extremely narrow channel. The kind where I had to take my bag off and push it in front of me. Every few feet I would stop and rest, and the silence of the cave when I wasn't scraping across rocks and dirt hit hard. This is part of what I love about caving, the isolation. I'm a bit of a weirdo. I love the thrill, but I'm also an introvert. Best of both worlds down here, I think to myself. After a few dozen feet, walls began to expand around me again, and before I know it, I'm back on my feet, hunched over. The path continues a bit further, nothing exciting, but I'm hoping to find a cavern or something of note. As you can probably imagine, most trips end at an impasse, and I have to work my way back to the opening. I finally reach a room where I can stand on my feet and not hunch over. It's really a relief after all the discomfort of traversing the path to get here. The room is maybe 10 by 10, the size of a prison cell, I would guess. Dirt lines the floor, a few rocks here and there, and a continued channel on the other side. But the channel is right back to hands and knees. I take another minute to relax and turn my flashlight off. It really gives me that adrenaline pump and something else to be in total darkness and total silence. Celebrities pay thousands of dollars for that type of experience inside of busy cities. I pay nothing. After about a minute of gathering my thoughts and doing a mini meditation, I turn my flashlight back on. Just as I do, I hear a sound further down the cave. Not quite sure what it was, but to my knowledge, I'm the only one down here. A rock must have fallen from the wall after thousands of years of hanging in suspense. I take another deep breath, preparing to push on when I notice something beside the entrance to the room that I entered. Something I missed when I came in, when I was focused on the next channel. There's a flashlight, a canteen, and a journal lying by the wall. A small wave of relief hits me knowing others have been here, but then I think about it. Who leaves their flashlight in the cave? A journal as a geocache is one thing, but a flashlight is not. I try the flashlight. Nothing. The batteries are still in it. I tighten the cap. Try again, but still nothing. Batteries are dead, I assume. Odd, I think, but maybe it's been here a while. I open up the journal to read the notes. It was pretty full. Pages were lined with dates and locations of caves, all from various areas around the country. I flipped to the last page of writing to see what notes they had on this cave, if any. The last page is dated a few months back and reads, "Headed down a new cave we found online. It was pretty easy to find, and the entrance is marked by a bandana hanging onto the tree next to it. The page breaks and another entry. Got through the first few channels, mostly hands and knees to get deeper, a few small rooms of various size along the way, but nothing of note. Another entry. We got to a fairly large cavern. There are stalactites and stalagmites, water is dripping from the ceiling, and the air is musty. Trevor swore he heard a sound, so we went silent and heard movement at the back of the room. Going to turn around. Not sure what it is. I flip to the back of the page, and the writing is noticeably different. Sloppier, and letters are almost scribbled, but still legible. My heart is beginning to pick up its pace. Was the sound I heard earlier what they heard? Or was it some kind of intricate joke? I read the last page. Made it back to the first room, I think. I'm exhausted from pushing and dragging myself through the passages. Turned around and Trevor wasn't there. He told me to go first. We heard sounds behind us in the first tunnel. Never heard him say anything. Don't know if he got stuck. Had to stop to rest. Can't push myself any further. Cave feels warmer now. Still hearing sounds from down the cave. More sounds now. Louder. Large movements. Going to... The writing stops abruptly. My heart is racing at this point. I decide to turn around and head back. No way I'm going further into this cave. I throw the journal in my bag and put my bag in front of me as I start crawling back the way I came in when I hear another sound behind me. Like another rock falling to the floor. Distant and echoing. And then, I hear a series of sounds. Sounds less like rocks and more like steps. There's a rhythm to it. Something intentional but unnatural. The sounds are growing with each thud, and I can feel the sound waves in my chest as I crawl. My heart is racing. I move faster than I've ever moved before, banging my knees and elbows against the walls just trying to propel myself forward. I begin to feel a foreign warmth take the cave. I stumble into the next channel, catching myself with my hands and drop my flashlight into the rocky floor. The light stutters, and I freeze in place as I watch the light disappear in a moment. My hair stands on end, and from behind me I can hear a groggy voice call out to me. It sounds foreign. Wrong. Whatever it is, I can barely make out what it's saying.
Come to me.
I hear.
Come back and stay.
The voice echoes.
I won't hurt you. We won't hurt you.
Its voice is wavering. Broken. It doesn't sound like a man or a woman. It doesn't sound of this world. I'm panicking now because I don't have light, and the silence that I loved is now overwritten with the encroaching steps and that god-awful broken voice. I think back to my decision earlier. Stay left going down, stay right going up. I put my right hand on the wall. My other hand is grasping my bag, and I move fast as I can upwards. I hit my head as the ceiling drops and I fall to the floor. I'm dizzy and disoriented, but I get up and keep moving. I know I have to keep moving. I feel a warm stream running down my neck. I make a bend and feel the cool air brush my skin. The draft. I'm back near the entrance now, I know. I stumble up the cave's steep embankment, my feet skidding on the loose dirt. I can hear the wind outside, blowing over the cave's entrance. I can't see the entrance, but I know it's near. Behind me, I hear the footsteps louder now, almost up to me. The metallic sound of nails on stone becomes so loud my eardrums feel like they're going to burst. Something pulls at my pant leg and I fall to the ground, sliding back down the cave entrance. I catch myself, and I kick backwards with all of my might. My foot connects with nothing. I don't dare look back. I drive my feet beneath me and rocket out of the cave and onto the leaves outside. It's raining now. I roll over onto my back and push myself away from the cave. Nothing emerges. No sounds pulse out. Only thunder and the drops of rain slamming into the ground. The rain washes the thick, warm blood from my elbows and my neck. The bandana's waving in the wind. I gather myself and make one last move towards the cave, ripping the bandana from the branch. I jog back to the car, exhausted. I have no idea what I just experienced, but I just escaped. Just barely. I turn the key and speed away from the parking lot. It's empty now. No cars remain. I make it back home and clean up my wounds. My car is a bit of a mess, but considering whatever could have been, I'll take it. Something lives down there. Something I don't ever want to meet. I'm going to see if I can find out more about the owner of this journal. Maybe it can provide some closure to someone who needs it. I don't know what happened to Trevor and the author, but I'm guessing they're still down there somewhere. I'm going to do everything I can to bury that cave. Erase it from the world. I just hope my response to the original Redditor's post reaches him before whatever lives in that cave does.